The components of a business plan. And so this is really, it's not official, but these are essentially the components that you should be starting to build, for a plan of action, and starting to create this business plan. So the first one is a mission. And we talked about that a little bit. What do you want to do? Do I want to do small experimental structures, or do I want to do large developments overseas? Just deciding on that is going to be really important, because that's going to start to move, you forward. There's a summary. So, what is the summary, of that business plan, of your vision, et cetera, that you want to have, and what's the general description. And, in terms of the business part of it, there's also the pro forma. So pro forma is, essentially this financial layout that, essentially lists whether, a business is viable or not. It's really going through the numbers. And pro formas are done for businesses. They're done for projects even. You'll hear that a lot in development. And what it is essentially this document that lays out whether or not a business or a project or whatever is financially, viable. And again, a lot of times you have to submit a pro forma also to get funding. There's also a game/action plan. So if, let's say, to use the residential model again, say, that's what I want to do, well, then what's my action plan? How am I going to get work? How am I going to get, how many staff members do I need? Do I need giant plotters? Can I, outsource that, work? If I don't need giant plotters, like, is it really going to save me a lot of money to buy, a $10,000 plotter? Why can't I just go to Staples and get them printed off myself? So again, all of that should really, file itself under and work itself through this business plan. And then there's a marketing recruitment plan. Sometimes you need a lot of marketing, and sometimes you don't. And so again, it's up to this business plan to really start to drive what those decisions are. And then there's an analysis, and there's a strength and weakness, right? And which I think is important to look at, because it's it's a bit of an introspection. It's a bit of a pause and a sigh for you to kind of sit back and say, okay, I just laid out my business. Is this what I want to do? What are my strengths and my weaknesses? If I limit myself to only residential work, am I missing opportunities elsewhere? Am I limiting myself to, I don't know, all this experimental, architecture that I used to do in school, or, even outside of school, my research? Is that going to go away? And so, it does invite this time to kind of look at it and say, okay, here are the strengths and weaknesses. Maybe my weakness is that I don't have that fancy area code. And so I'm not getting the work that I want to do. Well, then how do I go back and change it? And so that's why I think it's really important, to really consider the business plan, not only as a business, but also as an individual too. I mean, we should all, kind of be introspective about, our own careers and ask ourselves, what are we willing to do in order to get onto the path that we want to take? And the business plan is a way for companies to really, look at that themselves.